Hare Krishna. Please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Never miss any updates.
नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all of you on this Bhagavad Gita series sessions. The last session, it was spoken about chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which is an entire summary of the Bhagavad Gita presentation itself. From chapter 3 onwards, Krishna is going to speak the contents of Bhagavad Gita. So we have practically various analogies, various subjects presented throughout Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna first starts with basic items, and he will come to the highest conception of bhakti. And in every perspective, Krishna brings out the only option as bhakti in every chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So here also we see in third chapter, which is titled Karma Yoga, that is dovetailing all our working tendencies towards the Supreme Lord. This is the one point carry what we have to take from this chapter. This is for the first timers who have no idea what is bhakti, what is karma, what is jnana. Krishna is saying how to survive in this world for a better way. He is giving the initial guidelines. So he says, this chapter starts with Arjuna's question. The entire Bhagavad Gita is a questionnaire. Arjuna puts forward various questions and Krishna starts answering these questions systematically. And he said that almost 16 questions were there in entire Bhagavad Gita which Arjuna had presented for Krishna. And Krishna had elaborated the 16 questions, 700 verses. This entire Bhagavad Gita consists of 700 verses. So everywhere there is a logic, argument, reasoning, understanding. So it is a technical subject. It is not just assortment of related subjects. No. Krishna had systematically presented this so that people will be able to understand and people will be able to know the details of devotional service, bhakti, finally. So Arjuna here also starts with a question because he was confused with Krishna's statements in chapter 2, where Krishna had said at one particular point, Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani gore maam niyojyashi Keshava. Arjuna is asking, oh Keshava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? So there is a confusion in Arjuna's understanding. He is assuming things. So Krishna will clarify these assumptions by practical explanation of these various subjects. So what is the first Arjuna's question? Let us get into details. Arjuna is saying, Krishna had earlier mentioned in second chapter 49 shloka and 50 shloka a confusion subject. He got confused between karma yoga and jnana yoga. Yogastha kuru karmani. By engaging in yoga, do devotional service. Buddhi yukto jahatiha. Using your intelligence, discriminate between work that will bind us to this world and work that will liberate us from this world. And by your intelligence, yatate moha kalilam. Cross over this material bondage, ignorance, like that various concepts. See, entire Bhagavad Gita in a nutshell is presented in 7 verses by Lord Krishna in second chapter 47th shloka to 53 shloka. The entire essence of Bhagavad Gita is presented in 7 shlokas. So Arjuna was not able to comprehend within that 7, because Arjuna is a pure devotee. How he can be in confusion? Arjuna is expressing this confusion basically for all of us, on behalf of all of us, so that we all get that elaborate understanding. In one line Krishna can say and Arjuna can understand, but that one line is very difficult for all of us to perceive. So in this perspective only, Arjuna is putting forward various questions so that we all get that elaborate knowledge what Krishna is communicating. So there is a difference between fruitive work and there is a difference between intellectual work. Fruitive work means you are trying to engage in an activity and you are expecting the result out of that activity. And intellectual work is, by using our intelligence, we should be able to know which activity, how too much to be engaged and what to expect from it and what not to expect from it. So again Arjuna is saying Vyamishreneva Vakyena. This, your words are Vyamishreneva, they are all equivocal, confusing. You are saying sometimes do like this, you are saying sometimes do like that. Both of them are confusing to me. Buddhi mohayashivame, they are putting me under illusion, they are confusing me, they are disturbing me. Tamekam vada nishchitya, in compulsion, you give me one practical application. Tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyoham apnuyam, that which is beneficial for me. So Arjuna is pointing, don't put me in confusion, give me one thing which will benefit me so that I will be able to practically understand what you are trying to communicate. Now Krishna starts answering. In this world, there are two categories of people. Those who understand about this self, who are endeavoring to understand about this self. Some understand him through the process of knowledge and others are inclined to understand him by engaging in devotional service. There are two categories of people, one who comes from the knowledge path and one who comes from the bhakti path. So in the knowledge path, when they come, they try to renounce this world artificially. They say naiti, 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 because I am not this body, let me not connect with any of these things which are connected with this body or with this world, all these things and all. They try to artificially renounce the world without knowing that everything has a connection to Krishna. So sometimes people also, they are frustrated with this material world, they think that let me accept sannyasa, let us take the saffron color and renounce this world. So we may take up this renunciation of sannyasa, but if mind is still engrossed in this sense gratificatory activities, what is the point of accepting sannyasa? This is what Krishna is saying. Even in a white dress, person can be like a sannyasi, sannyasa manastatva, renounced personality. Dress is only externals, it does not matter. One has to see what goes on in the mind, and practically one has to be free from implications in this mind system. And Krishna also saying, so how can one abstain from work materially? Those who are following the process of knowledge, they try to abstain from work. Because if you engage in work, it will engage me in entanglement. So better avoid work. Let me not do the work at all. But in this material world, we see that everybody is enforced. Force is one thing, enforce means they are driven to act in such a way. All this is because of impulses born from their bodily constitution. Like for example, when we feel hungry, we try to look for food. When we feel sleepy, we would like to take rest. When we, like the different qualities, the body determines our actions. We are driven by these impulses which are generated from this body. Here sometime like the body is driving, or else the nature itself is. If it is early morning time, we will be very much inclined towards spiritual activities. As the day progresses, around 9 o'clock, our mind will be working. I have to go to office, I have to do that work, this work, that work, all these things and all. Around 1 o'clock, we would like to take a break of 1 hour or 2 hours, if possible. Go have a lunch, small nap, refresh ourselves, again come back around 4 o'clock and start working till 8:30. Again around 8:30, come back home, spend some time with the family by watching TV or something, discussions, all these things and all. Then people would like to have dinner, then take rest. So this time influences us. Like when we are in the morning, people would like to do morning, as soon as they get up, they would like to take bath, do all formalities, sit in puja room for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, chant little mantras, whatever they know, and some agarbatti you light, something basic, put from flowers to the photos there and small deities there. In that way, that morning is very conducive for spiritual things. And as the day progresses, we become more rajasic, we become more passionate, we would like to work. And as afternoon and the night again, we are becoming tamasic. The material nature will influence us towards sleep and other laziness or something like that we would like to. No one can refrain from doing something even for a moment. We are all very active personality. The nature of the soul is very active in nature. It cannot refrain for even for a moment and become like a stone. It is not possible, Krishna is saying. And he also says, one who can restrain his senses and the organs of action, but whose mind dwells on some object, certainly deludes himself and he is a pretender. Like we said, he is accepting the dress of a sannyasi, but he is trying to enjoy all gratification. Donga Baba is like a Dongi Baba. They are all false people, acting like a Baba but doing all nonsense activities. They are all called pretenders. Mithyachara saha uchyate. Krishna is saying these people are called pretenders. Externally they are trying to renounce, but internally in their mind they are always looking for sense enjoyments and sense gratification. So that is not recommended. And he also says further, but instead of falsely accepting a dress and trying to be a mithyachara pretender, Krishna is saying wherever situation where we are there, one who is able to regulate his senses by engaging in devotional service without attachment is by far superior personality. Asaktaha. He is doing all sorts of activities but without attachment. He is doing as a matter of duty. Like for example, mother takes care of the child when he is small. He takes care of her so perfectly. Every need is taken care of, justified. As the child grows elder and elder, all these things and all, child becomes independent. But earlier mother was serving him, not that because when he becomes elder, he is going to take care of her in the old age. No, without any consideration whether he will take care or doesn't take care. This is mother's duty. We will try to educate them, we will try to give them facilities, all these things and all, whatever their duty is, as a matter of custom, they would like to present it to the child. Now it is up to the child. He has been given all the facilities, he may utilize it or not utilize it and spoil his life. By bad association or good association, it is left to the child. Parents would like to give him a better path. Again, opportunity lies within the hand of the child. So Krishna also, as a supreme loving father, he would like everybody to come back to him. So that's why he is coming in various incarnations, giving us an opportunity to understand about him and know our faults, what we are going through, and so that we can correct ourselves. This entire Bhagavad Gita is a correction manual. We have tuned ourselves in a wrong way. Krishna is coming to change that tuning. He is retuning all of us, how we are actually supposed to be. So Krishna is also saying, Niyatam Kuru Karmatma, for action is better than inaction. A man cannot even maintain his physical body without work. Sharira yatra bichate na prasiddhet akarmana. By refraining from work, like if you want to eat food, one thing is either you have to cook yourself or you have to go outside. So if you feel hungry, if you have to maintain yourself, either you have to go outside. If something you have to do, physically sitting there, food will come to me, means it will never come. Either you have to go to market, purchase all the ingredients, come back home, do all the cooking process, then only you can eat. Or people think that even for to call Zomato or online things, you have to make a phone call, some endeavor you have to do. Simply by sitting, food will not come to you. So even to maintain this body, you have to work. You cannot avoid work. Arjuna is trying to give this reason because he wanted to avoid the work of fighting. But Krishna is saying, no, you cannot avoid. You have to, even for maintaining this body, you have to do work. It is impractical that saying that I will avoid activity. So Krishna is saying no. Then how do we know that? Because every activity comes with a result, either good or bad, papa punya. So how do I save myself from all these activities? Because you have a fear. Because if I do some activity, if that activity proves to be wrong, I have to suffer for it. Now how do I know that the activity is correct or not? So with knowledge we have to execute that activity. So what kind of knowledge should we possess? Krishna is saying, this one important shloka here says, Yajna artat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Yajna artaha. Everything should be for his satisfaction. Karmano anyatra. No other activity. Every activity, all our activity should be satisfaction of the Lord. Anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Any other activity which is not meant for satisfaction of the Lord which is going to bind us in this material world. Karma bandhanaha, it will bind us in our activities. Tadardham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samacharaha. Knowing this, all this, in this way people will act mukta sangha, free from attachment and bondage. See, everything in connection with Lord, they try to enact. Seeing that connection to the Lord and anything unattached to this world. The result, they are not attached to this result. So in that perspective, they act. Because when these human beings are created, what was the intention of Lord when he created these human beings and demigods and all these various personalities in this world. The next Krishna says about this aspect. So we'll come back to this point. Why to Krishna only? Why the result? The point of addressing to Krishna. So when we worship Lord Krishna, how do we become liberated? And when we don't worship Krishna, when we don't engage in service of the Krishna, how we become bound up is explained now. See, when a human being is created, there is a hierarchy in the system. What was his duty to be created? Like every entity comes with a process. We know for what it is created. Then human beings, what are they created for? Then Krishna says, in the beginning of the creation, the whole world, demigods and people were being created, and they were blessed with the saying, be thou happy by doing this yajna, by performing it, you will get all desirable things. Krishna is saying, by performance of yajna, all the desirable, what is required to manage this world is automatically blessed upon us. Now, by what is this performance? Yajna means for the satisfaction of the Lord. Yajna Purushaha means personification of the activity. That is Lord Krishna. Yajno Vaisaha. Shastras describe many connotations explaining about the position of Lord Krishna. Either Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, everywhere. He is personification of that yajnas. Satisfaction of the Vishnu is the primary goal activity. So all the living entities, demigods and humans, when they are created, it is said that they engage in this yajna. In this way, all their necessities will be taken care of. How people engage in yajna? All the demigods, being satisfied by this yajna, they shower them with good rains, good sunlight, everything what is required by the living entities to survive. So in that way, mutually there is reciprocation, there is prosperity, there is everywhere there is Siri Sampada. Siri Sampada, we say all auspiciousness, all opulence is everywhere in a better way. But what happens? We try to enjoy all the things given by the demigods and we don't give any credit to them. Like for example, we use electricity from government department, electricity department. We use water from water department. So we use various facilities of the government, roads, taxation, all these things. If you don't pay tax, if you don't pay electricity bill, what happens? They disconnect our current. Anything, mobile bill also if you don't pay, they will disconnect our account. Even in bank, anything you take, anything facility you use, if you don't reciprocate back, they will disconnect us. But technically, from morning to night, from years together, we have been taking so much sunlight. We have been taking the natural rain, wind, air, everything we are absorbing, we are utilizing for our opportunity. But are we acknowledging them anytime? Are we recognizing their effort? So this is what Krishna is saying. You are utilizing, but you are not acknowledging them. That's why we are called thief. Stena eva saha, Krishna says. So, how do I know whom to acknowledge, what to acknowledge? That's why Krishna is saying, instead of going after people, Krishna is saying, just acknowledge me, that is sufficient. In the 13th verse, Krishna says, Yajna Shishta Ashina Santo Mushyante Sarva Kilbishaihi. By eating that food which is offered to the Lord, we become fully purified. Sarva Kilbishaihi, all unwanted things, we become purified of. Bhunjate tu agam papa e pachanti atmakaran. Those who eat without offering to the Lord, they become entangled. They are simply eating sin. We also say, Annam Parabrahma Swarupam. Anna, grains are directly the mercy of the Lord. Dane dane pe likha hai, kane wale ka naam jab chepkodan. We say that in every grain there is written whom it is destined for. So that's why elderly people, they say, if you throw food, we will later sometime in the life we will not get food. We should not waste the resources. So why everything should be offered to the Lord? That perspective is explained in the next slokas where it says, Annad bhavanti bhutani. Every living entity is subsisting by food grains. Food is compulsory to everyone. And where does food come from? Parijanyad anna sambhavaha. Food comes from rains. And where do rains come from? Yajnat bhavati parijanya. By engaging in sacrifices, rains come from. And where are these sacrifices recommended? Yajna karma samudbhavaha. They are all in their prescribed duties. Sacrifices come because of prescribed duties. And where does this prescribed duties evolve from? Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi. These prescribed duties are coming from Vedas. Brahmakshara samudbhavam. These Vedas are emanations from body of Lord Vishnu. Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yajna Pratishtatam. That's why everything, since everything is emanating from the body of Vishnu, everything has a connection to Vishnu, so everything has to be offered to Vishnu. This is that principle. Why only to Vishnu we have to offer? Because everything is emanating from him, everything has to be offered to him. In this way, by offering everything, all the ingredients becomes purified, sanctified. So difference between food and prasadam, this is what is being explained here. Food is which is that is not offered to Krishna or Vishnu, and prasadam is that which is offered to the Lord. So by offering to the Lord, what is happening? The food what we have cooked, in the process of cooking, like we are boiling water, there is a stove, there are ingredients, all these things and all. Everywhere some inconveniences are happening to various living entities. When you put a fire, there are many microorganisms which are getting burnt in that fire. When we boil water, in that water also many organisms are there which die. Like that everything. So in our endeavor of cooking the food, there is some involvement of causing harm to other living entities. When we use a grinder or mixer, so some elements can get disturbed. So in this process, in this way where we are causing suffering to various elements, Krishna is saying, so in this endeavor, when we eat for ourselves that food, because that is involved in destruction to various living entities, it is going to create unwanted things for us. But when we offer the same food to Krishna and we honor that as prasadam, we become purified of all that effects of activity. So this is that point Krishna is certifying us here. And Krishna also says, one who knows the cycle of activity, evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartita iha yaha agayur indriyaramu mogam parcha jivati. A man who does not follow this prescribed Vedic sacrifice system certainly leads a life of sin, for a person delighting only in the senses live in vain. So this process is Vedic process and we have to adhere by this process. If you don't adhere to the process, then we are simply taking up only sin, papa. He is simply wasting his life. And Krishna also further says, one who takes pleasure in the selves and who is illuminated in the self, who rejoices in and who is satisfied in the self alone, fully satisfied, for him there is no duty. One who is liberated personality. One who is in the spiritual terms, because one who is in the Atma platform. We are all in the bodily platform. I am this body. If you ask somebody, if you ask anybody, who are you? He says, I am so and so, son of so and so. Like that, we give all bodily designations. In this life, we are so and so. In our past life, in the next life, we don't know. So in that way, one who is able to identify that he is not this body, he is but a spirit soul, he is a proper person. So that person who is in that consciousness, acting in that beyond the bodily level and the spiritual platform, he is the most satisfied personality. And for him there is no duty which is binding him, because everything he is doing as an offering to the Lord. So no material activity can bind him. So for him there is no force of doing activity, or there is any pressure on. If he doesn't do activity, there is no compulsion, or he has to depend upon any other living entity for all his work. No, he does everything as a matter of duty. This is the principle what Krishna says, how to survive in this world. Do everything as a matter of duty without getting attached to that work. Tasmad asaktah satatam karyam karma karotyaha asakto hi acharan karma paramapnoti purusha. Tasmad asaktah satatam. Saktaha means attached. Asaktaha means one who is without attachment. Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma. One should engage in all sorts of activities without any attachment. As a matter of duty, one should engage in work. Asakto hi acharan. In this way, by acting in such a way without attachment, Parama apnoti purushaha. One can achieve that Supreme Lord. One can go to Vaikuntha. One becomes qualified for going back home, back to Godhead. And Krishna next states example of two people. First he says, Janakadayaha. The great kings like Janaka, all great kings we see, they have acted on this principle. Even though they are kingly people, they are always great devotees. Raja Rishi, it is said. They are all rishis in the form of rajas. Just because they are wearing opulences, all these things, doesn't mean that they are carried away by enjoyment feature. No. They are all like rishis, even though situated as rajas. They are renounced categories. Their whole and sole aim is to set an example for people in general. Yad yad acharati shreshtaha tatta teve taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever activities a great man performs, common man follows. So to set a standard for common men, the great devotees set themselves as an example. Whenever a new product comes, companies would like to take some popular heroes as brand ambassadors so that all his followers will be able to use that items. Similarly, Lord also has his brand ambassadors for bhakti. Who are those great devotees? They are the brand ambassadors of the Lord. So that when they follow, great people follow, common men will automatically take up these activities. And Krishna himself says in the next 2-3 verses, he says he himself is an example. Although there is no work ascribed to him, still he engaged in all sorts of activities. And Krishna says, if I don't do work, whole world will be put into problem, because taking me as an example, people will start abstaining from work. I don't want to set a wrong example. When Krishna was a householder, when he was in Dwaraka, every day morning 4 o'clock he used to get up. After finishing his morning duties, he used to meditate upon himself. He used to engage in sacrifice. He used to do dana. He used to take care of brahmanas. He used to take care of all people like that and all, every day. So he is setting an example how one should live. What is our process? How to engage in this world? And Krishna says, if I cease to work, the whole world will be put to ruination. They take me as an example and they create unwanted population. Sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam imah praja. Unwanted population is created. They take me as an example. So Krishna doesn't want to set a wrong example. If we don't do our duty, then there is an unwanted population. If we do our duty, there will be no unwanted population. Arjuna had this one of the reasons. Says if war happens, there will be men who will be killed, and the men will be killed means their family becomes deprived of support, and for maintaining them, some people might cheat them, and there will be unwanted progeny everywhere, all these things and all. For women, there will be no protection, unwanted progeny, and all these repercussions of the war Arjuna was explaining. And he says, finally, will be cause of this unwanted population. Arjuna said, if there is war, Krishna is saying, no, unwanted population will be created when we do not do our duty. This is one of the refutations of the arguments presented by Arjuna. Now next, Krishna is saying how to engage in this world. Just as an ignorant person performs their duties with attachment to results, similarly the learned person also may act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading the people on the right path. The whole thing, discrimination between common man and the devotees, everybody is engaged in work. Common man engages in work with attachment, but devotees engage in work without attachment, to set an example for others. So intelligent people should not disrupt those who are ignorant. We should dovetail them, we should technically train them step by step. For one who does not know anything about spirituality, Krishna is saying slowly dovetail their tendencies. They have a tendency to work, okay, then work for Krishna. If you have a tendency to speak on Krishna, like that, slowly your tendencies bring them towards Krishna conscious perspectives. But what is happening in this world is we identify with the body and we become entrapped with the bodily inconveniences. And because of these inconveniences, we are lost in this world. We don't know what is happening because this body identification is bringing us into a different platform. We are under ignorance. We become carried away by ignorance. So those who are in knowledge, they do not engage his body just for the gratification of the senses or sense objects. Knowing well the difference between fruitive work and work in devotion, they try to act as per the guidelines given by the Lord. And Krishna himself says in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one prime shloka in 30th verse, he says, Mai sarvani karmani, all karmani, all your activities, sarvani, mai, unto me, sanyasya adhyatma chetasaha, with divine consciousness, with supreme, with sanyasya as a renounced mentality, engage all your activities with your mind intent upon me. Adhyatma chetasaha, nirashihi, without gain for nirashihi, without desire for profit, nirmamaha, without ownership, yuddhasva vigatachara, engage in fight. Being free from egoism and lethargy, engage in fight. So Krishna is recommending Arjuna, don't get carried away by this like a common man understanding. Rise above, be an intelligent man, engage all your activities for my satisfaction. Always engage your mind in thinking of me. Don't think that you are the proprietor and all these things and all. Free from egoism, nirmama nirahankaraha. So free from these two concepts, engage in this war field. Krishna is recommending, engage in this war. So by engaging in this process, Krishna says, one who does in this way, he becomes free from bondage of fruitive activities, if you do in this perspective. But those who out of enviousness, who disregard these instructions and do not practice these preachings, they are considered to be bereft of all knowledge, befooled and doomed to ignorance and bondage. When Krishna has given a guidance, we have to practically follow it. If you don't follow it, we become bound up by the consequences. So everybody act according to one's nature. So artificially we cannot accomplish repression. We cannot control. We cannot regulate ourselves artificially. Like many people try to stop smoking, but that habit is so intrinsic. After some days again they'll start up smoking. So this is that Krishna is saying. Artificially we cannot control this. You have to go beyond the things. If you have to discard certain entities. So how does this possible? In second chapter Krishna said, Param Drishtva, by learning, by enjoying higher taste, will automatically quit lower taste. There are, and Krishna also says, everybody has to do in their work. Because my work is simpler, their work is better, let me go to their work. We cannot jump around. Everybody has been having a prescribed duty. One has to do their prescribed duty. One cannot jump around, playing around. Then Arjuna put forward a question here. Again, one more question Arjuna is asking. See, many times we don't want to do, but we are forced to do that activity. What is that force which is impelling me to do that? If somebody comes and hits me, I don't want to take revenge, but my force is saying so anger. He is scolding me, he is hitting me. Let me go and bash him. Where is that force coming from? Generally, I don't want to do, I am Shanta Swava, but sometimes this force makes me impelled to these sinful acts. So where is this force coming from? Krishna says, Kama yesha krodha yesha rajoguna samudbhavaha. Because of passion, of this desire and this anger and hatred, all these things is being generated. And this is Mahashana, Mahapapma. This is most sinful thing. It's an enemy. Vidyanam Vairanam. It's a sinful enemy which is going to devour all of us. Like a fit of anger, we do some mistake and it is going to destroy our entire life. A person in a fit of anger or fit of something like that, he commits suicide and it is nowhere. What happened to his life? Or in fit of anger, somebody will go and hit somebody and that person died and your whole life will be going and sitting in the jail. And later you will be thinking, for a small mistake in that small momentary uncontrollable thing I have acted. Foolishly I have acted, later we will realize. So all this is because of this lusty desire. Lusty means we have to possess it somehow or other. I have to accept, I have to hold it on. Either woman, vastu or anything. Lust need not be of the sense gratification of, every senses has its own lust. Eye something beautiful, something is lusty. For taste something which is very tastable is lusty, like that. For ear, nice music is lusty. Everybody wants to hold on to something. Every sense wants to do it. So where does, how this lust covers? In 3 categories it covers, 3 degrees it covers. As the fire is covered by smoke, this is the higher level. Lower level is a mirror covered by dust. And the third one is as embryo covered by the womb. That is a gross. The first one is in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. So fire covered by smoke. If you just blow the air, then smoke will go away, only fire will fully be manifested. Then if you have to clean the mirror which is full of dust, you have to pour water, you have to rub it, you have to clean it, you have to wipe it. More work is required. Rajoguna. Tamoguna is embryo. We have to cut open and bring out the baby. That is in the third level. That is in Tamoguna. So different degrees of covering. Then this lust is something like that. Okay, once I enjoy it, is it satisfied? No, it will never be satisfied. It is like a fire. The more you supply fuel to it, the more it will be burning. That is the nature of this fire. And where does this enemy, if we are saying it an enemy, where does it sit? If you want to conquer the enemy, you should know its strategic locations. And it says Manas, Buddhi and senses. Indriyani, Mano, Buddhi. These are the 3 sitting places of this lust. If you want to attack your enemy, you should know where and all his places are. If you should know his daily activity, then you will be able to attack him properly and you will be able to defeat him. So this is an enemy. So its sitting places are mind, intelligence and senses. At different places it is sitting. These are the places. If you have to conquer it, how you will be able to conquer it? By regulative mentality. So one should be able to conquer the symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, slay the destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Jnana Vijnana Nashnam. It will destroy the knowledge and it will destroy the self-realization, because this lust, the momentary lust, can destroy all our pious activities. So how do I regulate the senses? So in this body there is a hierarchy. Gross matter is there, senses are there. Senses are superior than gross matter. Like I can place this table here. It cannot move. My hand can make it move. This hand is moving because my mind is directing. Mind is directed because intelligence giving the specific thing. It knows you keep it here, if you don't keep it here, it may fall down, it may break. And above the intelligence is soul. These are the hierarchy in this body. Gross matter, above that gross matter is superior is senses, above the mind, above that is intelligence, and above that is soul. This is the hierarchy in the body. If you have the problem at senses level, go to the mind. If you have a problem at mind level, go to the intelligence. And if you have a problem at intelligence level, go to the soul. These are the different instructions what we get from Krishna. Use this hierarchy system. If you have a problem with a worker, go to his supervisor. If you have a problem with supervisor, go to his manager. If you have a problem with manager, go to the boss. So there is a hierarchy in a company. So in an organization, in an institution, there will be a hierarchy. The same hierarchy Krishna is saying within this body also. After this hierarchy, then Krishna is again saying, finally, control the higher self by lower self. In this way, one will be able to conquer this lust. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyam atmanam atmanaha jahi shatrum mahabaho kama rupam durashadam. Knowing oneself to be transcendental to material senses, mind and intelligence, one should conquer the lower self by the higher self, and by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as the lust. So if we have to defeat this lust, we have to act in such a way. We should know that we are different from the senses, body, mind and intelligence. Knowing ourselves as a spirit soul, control the lower self by higher self, and thus by spiritual strength, not by material strength, we cannot conquer this lust. That spiritual strength comes by engaging in bhakti. That strength is given by Krishna for all of us. So in this way, we will be able to conquer this eternal enemy known as lust, and we become successful in this endeavor. So this is what, in brief, what Krishna had spoken about chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. So we will listen more of these subjects in the further sessions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.